After 30 years of love, I discovered an incredible secret that transformed my sons forever. Sarah sat at her kitchen table, the scent of freshly baked cookies hanging in the air. It was an ordinary day in their small Midwestern town, but her heart raced as she flipped through old family papers. Each faded piece held memories, but one dusty envelope stood out, addressed to her late father. She hesitated, fear curling in her chest. Would this reveal the untold stories that had tangled their family's past? As she opened the envelope, a mix of excitement and dread washed over her. Inside lay a letter from her grandfather, an entrepreneurial pioneer once celebrated, later shunned because of his humble beginnings. It explored dreams of innovation, but ended in his heart-wrenching departure from the only town he'd ever known. Would her sons ever forgive her for keeping such a powerful secret hidden? Jake and Tyler, her two teenage boys, were at a crossroads, their lives weighed down by the expectations of their small-town community. The fabric of their tight-knit family began to fray. Sunday church services filled with familiar faces felt like a reminder of the pressures they were all under, and the boys had started drifting away, engulfed in whispers of breaking free from their modest lives. "Mom," Jake had said last week, gazing wistfully out of the window, "do you think there's more than this place?" His words echoed, leaving Sarah feeling like a tightrope walker, balancing love and expectations. Those moments stuck to her like the flour-dusted countertops, heavy and unshakable. Tyler, always the quieter one, seemed to retreat even further into himself, lost in a world of possibilities that felt just out of reach. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the summer sun shone down on the upcoming community fair, Sarah felt both anticipation and dread. The air buzzed with the gentle hum of tradition, but also a cold wind of unspoken discontent. She spent countless hours preparing her homemade treats, hoping her sons might distance themselves from the allure of a life outside their beloved town. Yet, no matter how much love she poured into the preparations, shadows of uncertainty loomed. On the eve of the fundraiser, when the night was thick with unvoiced anxieties, Sarah gathered her boys. "There's something you both need to know," she said, her voice steady yet laced with vulnerability. Revealing the truth of their grandfather's struggles and triumphs, she watched their faces morph into expressions of disbelief and realization. As the words spilled forth, stories of rejection and resilience, something shifted. The weight of her grandfather's legacy struck them like an anchor, grounding them to the reality they always felt distant from. Would it reinforce their bonds or serve as a catalyst for resentment? The air was heavy with questions as they prepared to face the crowd at the fair. Would Jake and Tyler rise up, accepting their heritage? Or would they slip away, forever entangled in the notion that success only meant escaping the town that raised them? With their family's identity hinging in the balance, they stood on the precipice of discovery, ready to face the crowd and embrace the truth. What would emerge from this revelation, and how would it reshape the essence of their family? Only time would tell. The day of the community fair dawned bright and clear, with the sun spilling golden light over the vibrant stalls lining Main Street. Sarah felt a nervous flutter in her stomach as she set up her booth, a patchwork of homemade goodies and preserves. Despite her carefully arranged treats, her mind drifted back to the heavy conversations from the night before. Jake and Tyler walked through the crowd, their heads held high, but their expressions obscured by a shared uncertainty. The whispers of the townsfolk mixed with laughter and excitement, creating a strange tension in the air. Sarah watched them, searching their faces for clues of their thoughts. Would they step into the light of their grandfather's legacy or allow the past to shadow them? "Mom, can you help me with this?" Jake called, his voice cutting through her worry. He stood behind a game booth, a mask of confidence plastered on his face. His posture told a different story, and she could sense his struggle beneath that bravado. "Sure, honey." Sarah rushed over, her heart swelling with maternal instinct. As they worked together, a few neighbors ambled up, murmuring praises about her cookies. It filled her with warmth, but she couldn't shake the feeling that beneath the surface turmoil brewed. Tyler lingered nearby, quietly observing. He felt the weight of his brother's excitement and their mother's expectations, but something in him was stirring, ignited by the revelation of his grandfather's story. "I don't want just pumpkin cookies," Tyler whispered, his voice barely audible. "I want to be more." The words shocked Sarah as they hung in the air, heavy with unfulfilled dreams. The sound of laughter and chatter surrounded them, a stark contrast to the contemplative silence forming in their little bubble. Sarah took a deep breath. "There's nothing wrong with wanting more, Tyler," she said softly. "Just remember, everything worth having comes with its own sacrifices." As they continued to serve treats and chat with neighbors, she noticed Tyler watching families with curiosity. "What do you think they're thinking about us?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "That they're proud," Sarah replied without hesitation. "They respect how hard we work and the love we put into our community." But doubts gnawed at her. Were they truly proud, or did they simply see two boys trapped in the town's grasp? Then came the moment that shifted everything. Jake, finally breaking free from the playful banter, approached a makeshift stage. A local musician was setting up to perform. "Can I go up?" Jake asked hesitantly, the spark of bravery igniting in his eyes. "What?" Sarah's heart raced. "Right now? In front of everyone?" "Yeah, I want to sing. I've been practicing." She watched, torn between fear and pride. A part of her wanted to shield him, to keep her sons anchored to the safety of family and tradition. Another part knew that if this was his passion, he needed to express it. "Then go," she urged him, her voice steady despite her quaking heart. "Just be you." Jake took a deep breath, gazing across the crowd as he climbed onto the stage. The crowd quieted, all eyes on him. Sarah could see his nerves, but he smiled, a flicker of determination in his gaze. As he began to sing, the world around her melted away. The strains of his voice carried vulnerability wrapped in courage. She held on to hope, imagining that maybe this was the turning point they all needed. But just as she began to feel a glimmer of relief, Tyler slipped away, his expression lost in the sea of faces, a blip in the endless flow of the fair. Where was he going? As the music echoed, climbing higher and higher, Sarah's heart raced, torn between the beautiful moment unfolding and the unsettling uncertainty of what Tyler might be facing. Would he drift even further into the distance, or would he find his own voice too? With these thoughts swirling, she knew that answers awaited just around the corner. Jake's voice filled the air, notes soaring and dipping like a bird caught in the wind. The crowd hung on every word, and for a brief moment, Sarah felt a wave of relief wash over her. But that relief was short-lived as her eyes instinctively searched for Tyler. He was nowhere to be found. "Where did he go?" she whispered, half to herself. Panic began to rise up like a dark cloud. What if he was overwhelmed? What if he didn't want to be part of this fair, part of this town anymore? Her heart raced, but she forced herself to focus on Jake. The way he poured his soul into the song, it brought a tear to her eye. She knew he was reaching for something beyond this moment, beyond the cobbled streets of their town. But what would happen when he landed? Then, in the distance, she caught a glimpse of Tyler. He was behind a food stall, standing alone, a look of fierce intensity on his face. He was watching the crowd, his jaw clenched, as if he were wrestling with a storm. Inside, just as Jake hit a powerful note, the crowd erupted into applause. Sarah couldn't let Tyler drift further away. She gently excused herself from the conversation at her booth and made her way through the fair, weaving between smiling faces and joyful laughter. The smell of popcorn and cotton candy wafted through the air, a stark contrast to the tightening in her chest. As she reached Tyler, she placed a hand on his shoulder. "Hey, buddy, what's going on?" His eyes darted back to the crowd, then down to the ground as he kicked at the dirt. I don't know if I want this life," he admitted, his voice cracking. "Jake gets all the glory, and I feel like I'm just nothing." "Tyler, that's not true. You're so much more than that," she urged gently, trying to hold back the tears that threatened to spill over. "You're strong, creative, and so talented in ways I can't even describe." He shook his head violently, frustration boiling over. "But what if I want something different? What if I want to leave? I don't want to be stuck in this town forever." Her heart broke for him, and she understood. This community, while rich with memories and love, could also feel like a cage, a reality she herself had felt many times. "You can be anything you want, Tyler. You don't have to stay if you don't want to. But no matter where you go, we're your family. We love you and we always will." At that moment, Jake's song started to fade, replaced by the sound of laughter and cheers. The crowd roared, creating an atmosphere woven with encouragement and hope. Tyler glanced past her, wiping his eyes. "What if I mess everything up?" he whispered, fear creeping back into his voice. "Then you learn, and we're here for every mistake, every misstep." Her tone softened, grounding them both. "Life is about finding your path, even if it leads away from what you know." Tyler finally met her gaze, uncertainty mingling with determination. "Do you really think I can?" A smile broke on her face, one filled with warmth and faith. "I wouldn't say it if I didn't believe it. You're capable of so much, Tyler. You have to trust yourself." And just like that, their connection, though strained, seemed a bit stronger. But as joy danced through his eyes, a shadow of doubt hovered still. Meanwhile, Jake stepped down, overwhelmed by the applause. But when he scanned the area for his brother, his expression shifted, concern replacing celebration. Sarah noticed the worry in Jake's stance and felt a familiar pull in her heart. "Jake," she called, motioning for him to join them, "come here." As Jake rushed over, Sarah couldn't help but wonder, would this moment of truth for Tyler lead to a new journey for all of them? Or would their paths collide in ways they weren't prepared for? The air was thick with potential as the echo of Jake's song lingered, leaving them standing on the precipice of change. What awaited them on the other side? Jake approached, his brow furrowed with concern. "Tyler, are you okay?" He looked between his brother and Sarah, sensing the weight in the air. Tyler sighed deeply, the tension in his shoulders tightening. "I don't know, man. I just feel like everyone expects me to be like you, and I'm not." Jake's expression softened. "But that's not fair to you. You don't have to be like me. You can be yourself." "But what if that's not enough?" Tyler's voice trembled, a mixture of fear and embarrassment clouding his features. "Dude, you're way more than enough," Jake replied. "We've just got to figure out how to embrace who you are, not who I am." "But that's not fair to you. You don't have to be like me. You can be yourself." "But what if that's not enough?" Tyler's voice trembled, a mixture of fear and embarrassment clouding his features. "Dude, you're way more than enough," Jake replied. "We've just got to figure out how to embrace who you are, not who I am." As the crowd continued to celebrate Jake's performance, their cheers felt distant. The brothers stood in their own bubble, and Sarah felt like a bridge between their worlds, hoping to connect the pieces of their broken conversation. "You guys have to promise me something," she said quietly.
No matter where life takes you, just always be honest with each other. That's the only way you're going to figure this out. Tyler looked at her, gratitude mixing with his vulnerability. I don't want to disappoint anyone. That's the beauty of life, she encouraged. You won't. Disappointments are just part of growing. Just be you. A flicker of determination ignited in Tyler's gaze. I think I need to talk to Dad about how I'm feeling, too. I can't keep ignoring this. Jake nodded, a sense of relief washing over him. Yeah, let's do that together. He'll understand. It's not just you feeling this way. Sarah felt a stab of hope. Maybe this moment could lay the groundwork for a new chapter. A chapter where Tyler didn't have to live in Jake's shadow, and Jake could celebrate the uniqueness of his brother. Suddenly, a loud clap of thunder rumbled from the sky, shaking their moment. The festival lights flickered as clouds rolled in. A chill swept through the fair, and the laughter turned into murmurs of unease. Looks like we're in for a storm, Jake said, glancing up. Tyler shivered slightly, the change in atmosphere igniting something primal. Maybe it's a sign to take action. We should find Dad before anything crazy happens. I think that's a great idea, Sarah agreed, glancing around as the fair began to wind down. The storm clouds crowded above them, mirroring the storm brewing in each of their hearts. As they made their way toward the main stage where their dad often held court, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling this storm wasn't just a weather event. It felt like a shift, a transition. Something major was on the horizon. The distant sound of thunder rolled again, almost like a warning. She glanced back at Jake and Tyler, heart racing. What if their truths came colliding with the storm? Guys, let's hurry, she urged, urgency.
We don't know what else might happen. Eyes wide, they quickened their pace, racing toward a conversation that could change everything. Would it bring them together or tear them apart? The people around them thinned out, laughter becoming whispers, and the air tinged with tension. The horizon loomed dark and heavy. But just as they reached the stage, an unexpected figure emerged from the crowd, stopping them in their tracks. "Wait," she yelled, breathless. "You can't go yet. There's something you all need to hear." The girl's voice cut through the tension like a knife. They turned to see Lucy, a childhood friend, her cheeks flushed with urgency. She was always the one who knew more than anyone else, the secret swirling around her like the autumn leaves. "What do you mean?" Jake asked, straightening up. Lucy glanced around, her eyes darting as if expecting shadows to spring from the storm clouds. "I know this is crazy, but you guys really need to hear this. It's about your dad, and you both." The brothers exchanged glances, Tyler's confusion deepening. "What about him? Is he okay?" "Listen, I swear I'm not trying to cause trouble," she began, her voice trembling. "But it's about your family, traditions. There are things he's never told you, things that could change how you view everything." Jake stepped closer, his protective nature kicking in. "Just spit it out, Lucy. What do you know?" A memory flickered in Tyler's mind, a forgotten story from their childhood, half whispers about family history that felt more like fables than reality. Lucy took a deep breath, the tension in the air thickening as thunder rumbled above. "Your dad once had a brother," she revealed, her eyes wide with urgency. "He never talks about him, but he died a long time ago under strange circumstances. I think you both deserve to know who he was and how it might connect to how things are today." "What do you mean?" Tyler's voice cracked, uncertainty flooding back in. "Why hasn't he ever told us about that?" Lucy shifted nervously, glancing at the frightened fair attendees who were now beginning to scatter toward their cars, hoping to escape the brewing storm. "Because it might hit too close to home. Your dad's brother was a musician, just like Jake, and it said he had a particular talent that brought out something profound in people, even a darkness." Jake felt a cold rush down his spine. You think there are connections between his death and the pressure I feel, the expectations on Tyler? I think, Lucy hesitated, that learning about him might help you understand your dad better, help you deal with pressure and identity. In a way, you might discover who you are through him. The brothers stood frozen, caught between the shifting weather outside and the storm of emotions inside. Had they been held back all this time by secrets, by something they had never understood? Tyler looked at Jake, his heart racing.
We have to talk to Dad, now. We can't leave this unsaid. Jake nodded, gripping his brother's shoulder with fierce determination. We will, but I want to hear more about this brother. What else do you know? Lucy steeled herself, the distant thunder rumbling as if urging them on. It's not just what he did, but what he left behind, and it could change everything for all of you. A gust of wind blew past them, and the first drops of rain began to fall, sharp against their skin. The festival was dissolving around them, the excitement from earlier replaced by shadows and uncertainty. Is it really just a coincidence that this is all happening now? Sarah murmured, stepping closer to them. Her eyes reflected a sense of urgency, a spark of fear mixed with hope. But just then, another clap of thunder ruptured the silence, and a blinding flash of lightning forked across the sky. It was a stark reminder of the tempest brewing all around them, not just in the skies, but in their lives. As they stood there, the storm unleashed its fury, rain pouring down, mingling with their rising doubts and fears. They had so many questions now, each one heavier than the last. Would the truth finally set them free, or would it only deepen the rift? Let's get to Dad, Jake shouted over the roar of the wind, taking Tyler's hand. But as they turned to leave, Lucy grabbed Jake's arm, her eyes pleading. Wait, just one more thing. Your dad isn't the only one with secrets. The tension hung heavy in the air, pulse racing. What else was lurking in the storm, waiting to be uncovered? The rain fell harder, drumming against the pavement like a frantic heartbeat. Jake and Tyler looked at Lucy, their minds reeling. What did she mean about more secrets? A knot of unease formed in Jake's stomach. He glanced at Tyler, who squinted through the downpour, searching Lucy's face for more clarity. Lucy, Tyler urged, what are you talking about? What else do you know? She glanced over her shoulder, as if the storm itself might listen in. I don't know all the details, but I've heard things about your uncle, the musician. They say the family never quite healed from his loss, and that there were letters, messages he left behind. Letters? Jake felt a flicker of hope mingling with fear. What kind of letters? They're rumored to be hidden in the attic. Your dad never wanted to talk about him, you know? I think he's afraid of what those words might bring up. But maybe, just maybe, they hold the truth we're all searching for. A thick silence enveloped them as the truth settled in. The attic, that dusty, neglected room they'd all avoided for years, filled with old memories and whispers of their past. Tyler's heart raced at the thought. It felt like a buried treasure waiting to be uncovered. We can't waste time, Tyler said, determination rising within him. We have to find those letters. Maybe they'll explain everything, why Dad never talked about his brother and the impact it had on us. Are you sure? Jake asked, anxiety flickering in his voice. What if it's too much? What if it changes everything? Honestly, we're already standing on shifting ground. Tyler's jaw set with conviction. If the truth is buried up there, we owe it to ourselves to discover it. We've been kept in the dark for so long. I can't stand the thought of staying that way. Before Jake could respond, a gust of wind slammed against them, the smell of damp earth swirling around them. It felt like the storm was pushing them toward that attic, beckoning them to confront their truths. They could feel the heaviness in the air, an impending release. We'll talk to Dad first, Jake finally agreed, his voice steadier now, despite the uncertainty churning in his chest. He might have answers, even if it's hard for him. As they turned to leave, Lucy called after them, "Wait, remember, it's not just your dad. My family has a history too, one that might explain why we all struggled to connect." "What do you mean?" Tyler stopped, bewildered. This was the first he'd heard of Lucy's family being tied into the narrative animating their lives. She took a step closer, her face earnest under the deluge. "There's a legacy of music and loss in my family. I think it shapes how we all see each other." "So then, what's your connection to it?" Jake asked, eyebrows knitting together. Lucy looked away, eyes glistening. "I never knew how deep it ran until now. I think we're all more intertwined than we think." Before she could say more, they heard thunder crackle ominously overhead, almost drowning her words. The storm mirrored their confusion, enhancing emotions swirling amongst them. "Let's focus on Dad for now," Tyler said, a mixture of urgency and dread filling the space between them. "After we talk to him, maybe we can explore what you mean. We're in this together." As they rushed toward their dad's car parked at the edge of the fairgrounds, each raindrop felt like it was washing away a layer of their ignorance, leading them ever closer to the heart of their family's tangled story. But as they reached the car, Lucy's voice broke through the rain once more, heavy with weight. "Whatever you find, just know some secrets can break you apart, while others can bind you together." With that, the air felt charged, thick with the weight of expectations and the relentless pounding of the rain. Every step toward their dad was filled with the promise of answers, but were they ready to face what awaited them? Jake paused, looking back at Lucy, uncertainty in his eyes. "Are we ready for this?" And with that shadow of doubt lingering in the air, they plunged into the unknown. What awaited them in the safety of their father's car? Would they find unity, or would it shatter the fragile bonds they had left? The car door swung open, and the scent of wet leather hit them like a wave. The storm continued to rage outside, echoing their tumultuous feelings as they settled into the back seat. Their father, Mark, sat in the driver's seat, his face etched with concern as he looked back at them. "Hey, everything all right?" he asked, wiping raindrops from his forehead. "Dad, we need to talk," Tyler said, urgency dripping from his voice. He could feel the heat of Jake's body flicker beside him, their hearts racing in synchrony. "What about?" Mark's brow furrowed, and Jake could see the muscles in his jaw tighten. "About Uncle Mike," Jake stammered, the name carrying a weight that felt like lead. He glanced at Tyler. They both needed this moment to unfold just right. "Lucy told us there are letters, notes from him." Mark's expression shifted, a mix of surprise and something deeper. "Pain? Regret? Letters?" he echoed, disbelief painting his features. "Where did you hear that?" "Lucy," Tyler interjected. "She said they might be hidden in the attic. We want to find them. We need to understand why you never talked about him." The air in the car thickened, the storm outside dwindling to a low rumble, as if nature understood the gravity of their conversation. Mark shifted in his seat, his hesitation palpable. "I don't think that's a good idea." "Why not?" Jake fired back, unable to mask his frustration. "Why can't you just tell us what you know? It's been 30 years of silence and questions. We deserve to know." Mark's eyes darkened, and Jake saw a flicker of guilt pass across his father's face. "You don't understand. There are things that are better left unsaid. I've tried to protect you from that." "Protect us?" Tyler's voice broke, confidence draining from him as hurt emerged. "Or protect yourself? What really happened, Dad? Uncle Mike was your brother. You can't just keep pretending he didn't exist." The silence that followed was suffocating. Mark's gaze dropped to his hands, gripping the steering wheel, knuckles white with tension. The truth loomed like an executioner's blade, ready to strike, yet he withheld it. "Please, just take us to the attic," Jake pleaded. "We have to face this. We can't keep running away." Mark exhaled slowly, a defeated sound that seemed to echo throughout the car. "Fine," he said, finally raising his gaze. "But I can't promise you're going to like what you find." The weight of his words settled over them as the engine roared back to life. Jake and Tyler exchanged anxious glances, the reality of their choices creeping in. "Before we head home," Mark said, parking the car, "I'll take you to the attic. But prepare yourselves. I'm not sure what those letters will reveal." Jake's heart pounded in his chest, the storm inside him intensifying. Would the truth bring them together or tear them apart?
As they climbed out of the car, raindrops mingled with anticipation and dread, each step toward the house feeling monumental. Jake glanced at Tyler, their silent pact fortifying with each moment. What awaited them in that attic? Was it salvation or destruction hidden amongst the cobwebs and dust? And what about Lucy? Could the answers they uncovered tie their families together in ways they never imagined? With their hands on the door handle, they hesitated just a moment longer, feeling the weight of history pressing down. Then they pushed the door open and stepped inside. The shadows of their past awaited them, and Jake couldn't shake off the feeling that they were on the brink of something monumental. Would they emerge stronger, or would the truth threaten to unravel everything? As the door creaked ominously, one question screamed within him. Were they truly ready for whatever lay ahead? The house was consumed by a heavy silence as they stepped inside, the storm outside drumming against the roof. Each footfall echoed in the hall, amplifying the nervous energy thrumming within Jake and Tyler. They could feel their father's tension curling around them like the heavy smoke from a dying fire. "Let's go," Mark finally said, breaking the stillness. He led the way through the living room, a space that felt smaller than they remembered. Old photographs dotted the walls, faces frozen in time, unaware of the secrets tucked away in their home. Jake's heart twisted as he caught a glimpse of Uncle Mike's bright smile in one of the frames, a ghost of a man who'd stirred nothing but silence for years. As they climbed the narrow staircase up to the attic, the air grew colder, darker. It felt like they were moving deeper into the past, further from the world below. Mark paused at the door, his hand resting on the old knob. "Are you sure about this?" he asked, his voice low and almost pleading. Tyler stepped closer, determination in his eyes. "We have to know, Dad. This is our family, our history." The words hung in the air, saturated with urgency. Mark nodded, though the apprehension didn't leave his expression. He turned the knob and pushed the door open. Dust motes danced in the light filtering through a small, grimy window, illuminating the chaos of forgotten belongings. Boxes were scattered haphazardly, a jumble of memories wrapped in faded newspaper and time. "Help me move these," Mark said, clearly wrestling with his own reluctance. Jake and Tyler fell into sync, shifting boxes, cobwebs brushing against their skin like whispers of the past compelling them forward. As they stumbled upon a stack of old crates, Jake thought he saw something familiar peeking from beneath the rotting wood. He reached for it, revealing a weathered blue envelope, its edges frayed with age. His pulse quickened as excitement washed over him. "This must be one of the letters," he exclaimed, holding it up for his brother to see. Mark's face paled. "No, no," "Why are you so scared?" Jake demanded, frustration spilling out. "You're the one who kept these hidden." Tyler grasped his arm, grounding him. "Jake, let's just read it. We can't jump to conclusions, not yet." With a shaky hand, Mark took a deep breath, the shadows playing effects on his features. "If you're going to do this, just promise me you'll be ready for anything." Jake's heart hammered in his chest. He nodded, and Tyler moved closer, placing his hand on Jake's shoulder for support. Together, they ripped open the envelope, the crinkling sound slicing through the air like an electric current. Inside, they found carefully penned letters bound together with twine. Mark's eyes glimmered with unshed tears. "I never wanted you to find out this way." But curiosity propelled Jake forward. He pulled out the first letter, his fingers trembling as he unfolded the paper.
The ink was faded, yet the emotion behind it still seemed potent. As he read, the words painted a vivid picture of pain, regret, and love. They spoke of secrets that twisted like thorny vines through their family tree, secrets that could unravel everything they thought they knew. "Dad," Tyler breathed as he glanced from the letter to their father. Mark remained silent, his gaze locked on the words that echoed within him. The air was thickening. It felt like the storm had followed them into the attic and was now pressing against their chests, forcing out the truth. "What have we found?" Jake asked with growing dread. A storm was brewing in more than just the weather. As wounds long buried began to throb, an urgent question settled heavy between them. Would their family be able to withstand the winds of the past, or would they be torn apart? Jake's fingers shook as he held the first letter, the fragile paper whispering tales that felt both foreign and deeply familiar. He could almost hear the heartbeat of their family's history thrumming beneath it, begging to be acknowledged. The attic, once a forgotten realm, now felt alive with stories waiting to be unearthed. "Read it aloud," Tyler urged quietly, the intensity of the moment pulling them closer together. Mark seemed rooted in place, worry etched in every line of his face. With a deep breath, Jake began to read. "Dear Sarah," he intoned softly, the name hanging heavy in the air. "This letter is my confession, a burden I've carried for too long. There's something you don't know about me, something that changes everything." Jake's voice cracked, fueled by brotherly support and a desperate need for clarity. It goes on to talk about love, lost chances, how choices made long ago shaped lives we've only heard in whispers. As he continued, Mark's expression shifted. Shadows danced in his eyes, memories racing behind that guarded exterior. "The secrets run deeper than we thought," he murmured, almost to himself. Jake stole a glance at Tyler. His brother's face mirrored his own internal struggle, a swirling mix of fear, curiosity, and a hint of inevitable grief. They were unearthing something grander than just words on paper. This was a piece of their lives breaking free from captivity, but at what cost? With each line, Jake could feel the weight of their father's secrets. The longing expressed on the page was palpable. And despite the apprehension swimming through the room, both brothers leaned in closer. Tyler nudged Jake gently, urging him to keep reading. "And it says here, your brother is not the man you think he is. I'm sorry I kept this from you." A pin drop could be heard in the attic as that final line hung suspended in disbelief. Mark's color drained further, the remnants of 1,000 tumultuous emotions washing over him. "What does that mean, Dad?" Tyler whispered, though part of him feared the answer. Mark parted his lips as if to speak, but no sound emerged. Instead, he turned on his heel, pacing away from the letters. The storm outside roared, sending rattling echoes through the rafters, and the attic felt haunted by truths too heavy to bear. "Mark, please." Jake's voice shook, grounding their father in the moment. "We read it. We deserve to know." His dad stopped, shoulders hitching as he fought against the tide of emotion surging within. "You don't understand. Some things are better left buried." Panic laced his voice, a ripple of desperation that struck Jake's heart. Frustration boiled within Jake. "But this is family. You've made it worse by hiding it." Tyler's hand gripped Jake's shoulder tightly, a silent reminder of their bond in a moment that felt like it could fracture at any second. "We're in this together, remember? No matter what," he said, glancing from Jake to Mark. Mark turned back, tearing a weary look away from the letters, his eyes filled with both love and sorrow. "You may not want this truth. It could ruin everything." "But the hurt is already there, Dad," Jake shot back. "Maybe understanding it can help us heal." A deep sigh escaped Mark, a sound heavy with years of bottled pain. "Then you really want to know?" His voice wavered, a crack in the facade he had maintained for so long. Jake and Tyler nodded fervently, anticipation and dread intertwining in their chests. They could feel the storm shifting, and it mirrored the whirlwind of revelations about to unfold. "Okay," Mark said, voice barely a whisper, "but be ready, because what I'm about to tell you changes everything." As the unspoken weight of secrets clung to the air, Jake felt a chill run down his spine. What could he possibly reveal that would reshape their reality? In that moment, the flicker of hope intertwined with fear. Would this knowledge strengthen their bond or shatter it forever? And as Mark prepared to unveil the past, the storm outside surged, calling out for the impending tempest of truth to break loose. Would they stand as a family, or were they on the brink of being torn apart forever? Mark took a deep breath, the tension in the attic thick enough to cut with a knife. The storm outside raged, each crack of thunder mirroring the turmoil brewing in their hearts. Jake and Tyler could feel every pulse of their father's uncertainty rolling off him like a wave crashing against the shoreline. "Years ago," Mark began, his voice trembling slightly, "I had aspirations, dreams of being more than just what this town expected of me. Your Uncle Mike was not just my brother, he was my inspiration and my anchor. He played music like it was woven into his very soul. People adored him. But there was also a darkness." Jake felt a surge of sorrow coursing through him. They had heard bits and pieces of stories about Uncle Mike, the talented musician whose shadow loomed large over their family. But they never understood the full extent of the impact he had left behind. "Mike had struggles," Mark continued, eyes flickering toward the window, where rain beat angrily against the pane. "He fought demons that I tried to shield you two from. He was brilliant, but he felt the weight of everyone's expectations crashing down on him. He never found peace within these walls, and I failed him as his brother." A chill crept down Jake's spine as he exchanged a glance with Tyler. "Why didn't you ever tell us about this?" Tyler whispered, his face stricken with confusion. "I tried to protect you," Mark said, tears glimmering in his eyes. "I thought if you didn't know the truth, you wouldn't carry the burden of it. But all I did was shield you from your heritage, who you really are." "Was that what the letters were about?" Jake asked, pressing forward, his heart racing. "Did Mike leave something for us to find?" "Yes, he wrote to me before he died," Mark admitted, anguish splintering through his voice. He was contemplative, reflecting on family, dreams, hope, and his regrets. "I never showed you because I feared it would break you." "Dad, we need to hear them," Tyler urged, leaning forward, desperation woven into his tone. "Maybe they hold the answers." Mark paused, a mix of sadness and resolve crossing his face. With a slow nod, he finally said, "Okay, let's read them together." Fear clutched at Jake's chest, a strange blend of anticipation and dread. Mark picked up the letters, shaking hands reaching out for the largest one buried beneath the others. He unfolded it, and as he began to read, their breaths held. "Dear Mark," he began, hesitation thickening each syllable. "If you are reading this, it probably means that I've left this world behind. But I want you to know I truly loved you. You were my light in the dark, my strength, and I failed you. I see the anxiety and pressure, both of us living in expectations too heavy for our shoulders. But we must break free." With each word, Jake could sense the weight lifting off their family, unspooling secrets that had long rotted in silence. Uncle Mike's voice shifted from the grave into the very air they breathed. I hope my music has soundtracked your lives, Mark recited, his voice growing steadier. But I also hope you find your own melodies. Live for yourselves. Don't let the fear of failure suffocate you. I did. And while I wish I could take that back, I can't. I want you to be free. Tears streamed silently down Mark's cheeks, echoing the heartache that had festered for decades. Tyler's hand found Jake's. They were in this together. This was their chance to reclaim their destiny, unafraid of their past. Don't hide from your passions, boys, Mark continued reading, his voice catching. Life can be beautiful, even amidst the storms. And if ever you feel lost, remember to embrace your family. We may not be perfect, but we have each other, and that's what matters. As the last bit of Mike's words slipped from Mark's lips, the attic felt charged, electric with revelations. The storm outside seemed like mere raindrops compared to the tempest inside their hearts. "Dad," Jake started, his voice cracking, "thank you for sharing this. We weren't asking for the truth to hurt. We just wanted to understand. We want to embrace all parts of our family." Tyler added, "We can't change the past, but maybe we carry Uncle Mike's legacy as our own." Mark looked down, wiping his eyes. "I'm so proud of you both. You've always been my greatest adventure, and I can see now that you're both destined for so much more." The storm had begun to pass slowly, the rain tapering off. A sense of calmness enveloped them like a warm embrace, a tether binding them together. The burden of hidden secrets had shriveled under the light of understanding, replaced by love stretching across generations. "Let's make sure we honor Mike," Jake said, inspired, "by living boldly, just like he wished." Suddenly, the attic felt like a sanctuary, not a place of ghosts, but one of rebirth, laughter, and the promise of courage. They were ready to step boldly into the new day together, hearts fuller, their anticipation shared as one. As they left the attic, the last remnants of the storm drifted away, and the world outside felt brighter, as if their family was renewed, ready to shine in the light of their beloved uncle's legacy, together as one. Now it's your turn. After this incredible transformation, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. This is the moment to do it. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. Your thoughts are invaluable. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformation. Your support keeps
These stories alive. Thank you for being a part of our community.